Google dishes, Jelly Bean Surface, and all the Mobile World Congress news that matters on this week's episode of Android Atlas. It is February 29th, leap day, year, whatever you call it.
Leap year.
Leap year.
Leap
I
day.
am
like
Justin Eckhouse. That is J. Mark Habibi. This
Hello.
is Emperor Stephen Beecham.
Good morning, everyone.
Your Highness. Welcome. How's it going?
Good. Are you asking me? Or are you asking?
I'm asking our special guest.
Nobody.
Yes, most of our team is busy doing this little thing called Mobile World Congress. They're in Spain.
And so are we.
Yeah.
We'll pretend. We'll pretend.
See. Let's talk about what's happening in Spain, since at least we could read about it and see what our colleagues had to say. There's a lot of interesting news. There's tons of hardware, and we'll get to some of the more interesting stuff. But Google had a lot to say. The first thing that Andy Rubin talked about was tablets and Android tablets, and how they are doubling down on tablets to win that market, because obviously they are not winning right now. According to him, they have activated 12 million Android-based tablets so far. That is sort of since the beginning of time, compared to Apple, who in the fourth quarter last year sold 15 million.
Oh, man.
Since the beginning of time.
Right. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
And they have sold about 40 million iPads overall. So Google is behind. But he says that 2012 is going to be the year that we double down and make sure we're winning. I mean, can they do it?
I want to make sure. Did he say that in 2011?
That they would win?
that 2011 would be the year that they would double down and make sure.
I don't know.
Winning?
I mean, they talked a lot about, hey, we came out with Honeycomb, and Honeycomb is a tablet optimized operating system, and now we have Ice Cream Sandwich, and that unifies them.
Right. So maybe 2011 was just kind of laying the groundwork.
I think so. And, Google, so they expand on this a bunch. So Andy Rubin sort of overall laid out, we're going to double down on that. And then their vice president of engineering, Hiroshi Lockheimer. Sorry.
What was that again? One more
sorry.
time.
I have to cough. Maybe you can say it. Yeah. Anyway, we'll just call him Hiroshi.
Yes.
He said, he did an interview with PC Mag, and they sort of said, hey, what can change your position? And he said, look, phones took a while to ramp up. We launched those in 2008, and now they're sort of dominant, and we think that tablets are going to sort of have a similar trajectory, and that they're going to continue to invest in content. So they have a video rental store to try and spur tablet usage. They have a bookstore. They're going to continue to invest in content to try and make a difference there.
Yeah, I mean they don't have control of features the way that other company does as far as hardware goes. So yeah, they're definitely going to have to ramp up their store and their offerings to the peoples. Maybe get some awesome apps in there.
Awesome apps, yeah. I mean, so they did talk about apps. They went through a lot of different areas that the Google ecosystem for tablets has challenges with, like it's hard to find tablet-based apps. And he said, are you going to do something to address that? That was sort of the question. And the response was, it's a challenge, of course. How do you define what a tablet app is versus sort of a phone app? And he kind of takes the tack that there's not a whole lot of difference, that because of the way Android is architected, that they're the same thing. I think that's not quite a great answer. I think in consumers' minds, there's difference, and there's clearly differences in apps that are optimized for tablets, that are laid out, that have the graphics that support that, and there's those that don't. And I would love to see the Android App Store take a similar approach to what Apple has done and separate them out and really call out ones that are optimized and will give you a much better user experience than ones that won't.
Right. So, I mean, Hiroshi, if you're asking a user, yeah, that's what we'd like to see. It's not. I mean, like you said, I'm not satisfied with the answer that it is a challenge and that's just something that is better now that the environment has ice cream sandwich and things like that. I like what you said, that with Apple, things are separated a little better. Tablets, iPhone apps, you know what you're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm constantly on the track. I'm not looking for the Apple ecosystem model with Google, but I am looking for Google to be more aggressive in creating an easier to use ecosystem, easier to use market, minimum specs. I mean, these are common themes that I certainly bring up that I think will benefit consumers. I think Google underestimates how confusing it is at multiple levels, from buying a phone to getting into the market for a consumer. And yes, it promotes choice, but there's just so much confusion that.
How are they differentiated now, like tablet apps versus phone apps for Android? How do they have that differentiation in there?
It's a great question. I haven't spent a whole lot of time, to be honest, in the App Store, just because on tablets in the Android market, because I frankly find the experience easier on an iPad, and I end up using an iPad more often as my tablet than my Android tablet.
Yeah, I mean, I know when you go in the market, there is at least an editor curated section that says, featured apps for tablets and things like that. But I'm not sure how good of a job they do as far as promoting, some of the best tablet apps out there for the users.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of that curation on their side in the market in general, especially around tablets. The interview goes on to talk about ice cream sandwich and, when do you see big consumer, basically how can we get ice cream sandwich and future operating systems out to consumers quickly or more quickly? And his answer is he says there's very rapid adoption of ice cream sandwich. A lot of OEMs have announced it here, which seems kind of odd considering that ice cream sandwich came out a couple months ago. So how can
it seems like it's only on one phone?
Right. How can you say that's rapid adoption?
Maybe he's talking about the developers or something, or who is he
I think that's kind of what he's saying is that, we're going to see a bunch coming up soon. But from a consumer's perspective, when your comparison is Apple, where they say, like, this OS is out, and that means it's out on all the phones.
No, it's not.
Right. It's big difference. Like, consumers are like, well, this was announced a couple months ago, but I can't buy it. Like, I just bought a new phone, and it's coming with this old
and we have no
system.
idea when we might get it, depending on what device we have.
Yeah, that creates a lot of confusion, and I think a lot of buyers even say, like, I'm going to hold off buying until I understand if this is going to come out, or it's just too confusing, so I'm just going to get an iPhone or something that I understand how the release cycle works.
Right.
Let's see, what else? They talked about how they release Nexus phones, and OS is optimized for that, so Google's strategy is kind of, when they're coming out with a new OS, like Ice Cream Sandwich, to optimize it for the Nexus device and the chipset, which makes it hard for other developers, other hardware manufacturers who don't release phones with that chipset to adapt. It takes them a while, and he said, could you change that strategy? And the answer is kind of that Google's strategy is to get something in consumers' hands as fast as possible. So if they made an OS that was available to all the different chipsets, it would take a lot longer to get that out to everything at once.
Yeah.
Which I think is true, but I don't know that is necessarily a bad strategy. I mean, I feel like wide availability is maybe better than having something that comes out a couple months sooner, but it's only available to a small subsection of people who want to buy that one device.
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly going to piss at least a few users off by releasing it to just one phone and then having everybody else salivating over it.
Right, one phone, one carrier.
Yeah, wondering when they're going to get it. And on top of that, I mean, you still have users that are working out the bugs on that one phone because, like he said, Google, wants to release it as soon as possible.
Which is totally Google's style, just to throw everything out there, get it out there as fast as possible, and then fix it later.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's great for a lot of things, but I guess we're just pointing out the problems with that strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a balancing act here. Really what we're talking about is the strategy between this closed ecosystem where you control everything and this open ecosystem where everything is just a free-for-all almost. And both have benefits. I feel like there's probably a middle ground that I'd love to see Android move towards where, again, they say, like, here's minimum hardware specs that you need to meet to have the Android market to be called sort of an Android, certified device, so that as a consumer, I can sort of know that when I buy a device, it has these minimum specs that maybe they can guarantee it's going to be upgradable to future OSs for X number of versions. So I feel like I have some security, and it's not just I'm buying this device that may be worthless and dead and not upgradable, 2 months after it comes out.
Right.
So can someone fix that, please? What else? There was some news about Android activations. What do we have? Do you have that story? What do we have on that?
Let's see.
This was, I think we've seen a lot of tweets from Andy Rubin. This is how he typically releases how many activations are out. Right?
Yeah, I mean, according to Andy, the Android platform is now seeing over 850,000 device activations per day. So I think, what was it, just last month that we heard it was 700,000?
Right, yeah, in January.
Yeah.
And so there's over 300 million devices activated to date, or device activations to date.
Right. And that is significant because Apple's OS was last seen at 315 million cumulative devices. And so, they're probably hovering somewhere around 330 right now, which means that I think Android may be poised to overtake them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is a pretty interesting, tipping point or something like that, where they could sort of really cross over. And it's possible that they've already overtaken, if you just look at overall Android devices that include like the Kindle and the Nook, which aren't sort of official Android market devices. So I think Google's not counting those.
Right.
But,
and neither is Apple. No.
Right. But Apple is also counting devices that aren't phones here, like iPod Touches, for example.
Oh, right.
I mean, Android is too. They're counting tablets, but there's not many tablets
and
out
phablets
there.
And
right. Exactly. So tipping point, we will keep a watch. I'm sure we'll have more data in a month or two.
This is really interesting because just like last week, Cisco put out a story that says there's going to be more mobile phones than humans in 2012. Which just blows my mind. Like, where are they all going? The landfills or something?
Right.
Right. Well, what's happening, we were just talking about this morning, actually. There's a lot of people who have multiple phones. Like, you see people around the office who have their BlackBerries for work and their iPhones for personal use.
Are there really that many, though, to compensate for all those people out there that don't have phones?
Go look at Jessica Dolcourt's desk. She has like 20 phones.
Yeah, she's not a good example. But you know what it actually is in other countries where there's multiple networks and sometimes you carry multiple phones just so you can have coverage in different areas of a country. I know Africa has this issue a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know just in the Philippines, I've been to the Philippines a few times. I know a lot of people have different phones for the different carriers there as well.
So yeah, I think it's big and it's crazy, and it'd be an interesting problem for someone to solve.
That's insane. I don't want to believe that there are more phones out there than human beings. I don't want to believe that.
Well, there are. So one last thing before we take a break, and this is on the ongoing topic of the Google acquisition of Motorola. And so at Mobile World Congress, Andy Rubin, who we didn't mention before, is sort of the head, I don't know, his official title is head of Android for Google.
He's the head Android.
He's the head of Android. Yeah, maybe he is a robot.
I like
what do you
this
think?
picture of him. He's got like a helicopter behind him. I don't know where the helicopter comes into play.
It's Android powered, I'm sure.
It's funny.
So he sponsored the Google takeover of Motorola originally. However, he wants to make it clear that they have literally built a firewall.
A wall of fire.
A wall of fire. They have literally built a firewall between the companies, and that, quote, I don't even know anything about their products. They're separate from me, and I'm going to continue to do my thing. He has no idea what's going on in Motorola.
Scout's honor.
Yes. Which I keep calling BS on this because I feel like, really, you bought this big company. I know you jeopardize your other relationships with carriers, if you get involved. But do you think this is really true? Can they really maintain this firewall?
I think to an extent he's trying to keep his hands off. That's what I want to believe. But as far as him not knowing anything, I'm going to say he's overstating that firewall a little bit. I think he's got to know something,
Or his employees, they don't bump into each other in like the cafeteria,
Right.
at the softball game.
Just like, hey, what are you working on?
Yeah.
I forget it. Don't tell me.
I mean, maybe they're different buildings, and I think Motorola is based in like Illinois or something like that. So maybe they're not moving any of them, and they won't run into each other. But I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean,
there's a conflict of interest, So
there is. We'll see what happens. We'll see how long this lasts. I think I had a prediction about this.
yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we are going to tell you everything we know about jelly beans. Stay with us.
Android Atlas Weekly. Android Atlas Weekly.
And we're back. Welcome back to the discussion of one of my favorite candies, jelly beans.
Jelly bellies.
Jelly beans.
I love the jelly bellies.
Yeah, you guys fans?
Big time. They're over
Totally.
here. They're over here too in the Bay Area too, right? Like in
They
Vacaville
are
or
in
something.
Fairfield. I think.
Fairfield, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take a little factory tour.
Oh yeah.
So we talked about rumors last week that Google's next OS would be called Jelly Bean. This week we have a little more hilarious rumors.
Evidence, if you will.
Evidence, yeah. So apparently in Google's booth, if you just go into the booth at Mobile World Congress, they are giving out ice cream sandwiches. But if you go deep into the booth, into the like press area, they have a little bowl of, we have a photo here, I think, as well,
It's actually kind of a large bowl.
filled with jelly beans and androids all around it.
Delicious.
And Google declined to comment on their candy bowl. But
We tried to get Eric Schmidt on the phone about it.
yes, yes. Did there were no black jelly beans in there?
Nope.
Nope. That's an Eric Schmidt's writer, actually. He's like, no black jelly beans. Anyway, could this be a sign? Could it? Huh?
I think it is absolutely definitive proof that the next OS is going to be called Jelly Beans. But that's just my opinion.
That's the only way we could take it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all we got on that. It's pretty funny, I think, though. All right. So now we're going to do a couple little hardware things. There was a lot of hardware that came out of Mobile World Congress. If you want to look at it all, go to cnet.com/Android Atlas. We're just going to cover the interesting parts because you don't want to hear us just rattle on about this phone had 2% more CPU than that phone we talked about last week.
It's got one extra core.
Yeah. This is the first 2.5 core phone. But we did talk last week about the Galaxy Note and rumors that there would be a Galaxy Note tablet. And there is. Ta-da! It's the Galaxy Note 10.1. And it is everything you would expect. It's basically like the Galaxy Tab 10.1, but it has the S Pen thingamajigger, TouchWiz, Ice Cream Sandwich, 1.4 gigahertz dual core, 1280 by 800. It is not a phone, so don't try to make calls with it.
Interesting.
But it does have a GPS.
Yeah.
And this is interesting, right? You want to talk about this?
Yeah, it actually comes preloaded with Photoshop Touch. And it's interesting because we actually had someone, what was that, an email? A voicemail?
Right, I think an email.
We had someone talking about, what was it, a stylus-enabled Photoshop app on a stylus-enabled tablet. And this is pretty much it. I mean, we know that it comes preloaded with the Photoshop Touch app, but what we don't know is whether that Photoshop Touch app is optimized for use with a stylus. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and assume that it is because it does come preloaded on there.
I'm sure it does, or at least works well.
Yeah.
And that app it comes preloaded here. Otherwise, it's $10, which is for Photoshop, which is normally like $700. It's a pretty good deal, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've actually played with the app a little bit. And,
okay.
I used my finger. I didn't have a stylus at my disposal.
Your
But
finger is the best
it
possible
is the
stylus.
best stylus.
Who said that? Didn't someone
Steve
famous
Jobs.
say
Steve Jobs said that. But I might have to disagree when it comes to this Photoshop app because it was very hard for me to trace objects on the Photoshop app with my finger. So I'm kind of excited to see what that might be like with the stylus.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool. Anyway, I'd like to check this out with Photoshop. That'd be cool.
Totally.
We will. So we solved someone's problem, or we didn't.
Yeah.
All right. Adobe and Samsung solved someone's problem, but we let them know about it.
Right.
That's our job.
So we'll take a little bit of credit.
Yes. All right. This next one. So we have two more pieces of hardware here that I find pretty interesting. That's awesome. I'd never buy that kind of way. The pad phone. Maybe we can take a look at this video while we talk about this. But so, you want to walk us through this?
Yeah.
Is this a phone? Is it a tablet? Is it a computer? What is this?
So it's a phone. It's a phone, but it's got
But wait, there's more.
it's got a docking station that is not actually a docking station. It's a tablet. So what you do is you slide the phone into the back of the tablet, and ta-da, you now have a tablet. I'm not sure what the specs are,
But wait,
the inches.
if that's not good enough,
That is, yeah, if that's not good enough, there is yet another contraption to be added on, which is a keyboard that folds into that tablet, making it look somewhat like a notebook. It
Wow.
is the ultimate.
so it's very
transformer.
much like, so this is from Asus. It's similar to the Transformer Prime, right?
Right.
Except that the phone is the base rather than the tablet being the base of your operations there. And so the phone stores all the data, so you can just take that off and you have everything. And it seems to be a pretty nice phone, even without all the mumbo jumbo 4.3-inch AMOLED display ice cream sandwich. But I guess it's kind of, I don't know, it's cool. There's no pricing. I mean, if I could pay like maybe $200 and get all that extra stuff, maybe that's worth it. But
Maybe.
I feel like this is going to be like a $600 investment on top of the phone.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's that expensive, you might want to just get a Kindle Fire or something in addition to your phone. Because
Right.
You have Kindle Fire.
Or just a netbook or...
Something, yeah.
I mean, a lot of the phones you can just actually plug an HDMI cable in and use, a Bluetooth keyboard with now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
buying this specific hardware for this specific phone that when you upgrade your phone is potentially worthless because they're not going to keep the same form factor.
Yeah. And then without the phone, these add-ons are then useless, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you had a separate tablet, then you can actually use two things,
Exactly. And this does have a pen as well. So following up on the note,
Oh, right,
it has
I
a
didn't-
pen which doubles as a Bluetooth headset.
That I don't understand. But, I mean, I did see that there's a button on there that allows you to answer the phone, right? You just kind of click it,
Right.
James Bond style.
Exactly. This does seem something like Hugh would invent.
Right.
Anyway, cool. Are you going to buy that?
I'm not going to buy that, but I might play with one if one ends up somewhere in the office.
And you'll ooh and ah.
I will.
This next thing is something that I would want. I don't want this phone, but I do like this idea a lot. It is the Samsung Galaxy Beam, and it is a Samsung Galaxy phone, which is not super powered. It's a 1 gigahertz dual core phone with a 1.3 megapixel camera, blah, blah, blah. Only running Android 2.3, but it has a Pico projector, which basically is just a small little projector that is handheld, built in. So you can project, I don't know exactly what you can project, but potentially anything you're seeing on the screen just on the nearest wall to you,
Yeah, I think you might actually be able to project your phone's desktop.
which would be cool. But also so if you think about how you would use this, Like, how many times are you showing people photos on your phone and everyone's gathered around and you're like, swipe, 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 swipe. And then they have bad breath and they smell and you're like, back up.
Always a problem.
And you don't want them to touch your phone because they're greasy.
Exactly. So this solves the problem. Like, just project your photos on the nearest wall, swipe, swipe, swipe through them.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I would probably use it to show people some YouTube videos because I find myself pulling up YouTube videos all the time, you know, to friends showing them, hey, check this out. It's hilarious.
Right.
But now everybody can see it at the same time on the wall. I don't know how good the speakers are on this, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And it's 15 lumens, which I don't think is super bright. But maybe it's really bright for a Pico projector. I don't really know how those are rated. But anyway, I think it's cool. I would buy a phone with this. I don't know if I would pay a whole lot extra, maybe like $50 extra.
Right.
But more importantly, I don't know if I would compromise on specs. Like, would I buy a slower phone just to get the projector piece, or a phone like how
And it's got gingerbread, right?
it got gingerbread and
Oh my
it looks a little beefy. Like,
It does look
I mean, it has to be pretty much right to
Yeah.
have a projector on there. But there was a camera that came out. I don't know if you guys remember this. Maybe last year at CES or something like that, that projects from the actual camera,
Yeah, I think I saw that.
which is pretty cool. But people don't really use cameras anymore. They just use phones.
Yeah.
So this makes a lot of sense. But we'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more phones come out
I
with
think
this.
HTC made a phone like this with a projector built in. I could be
Oh,
wrong.
really?
I think so. Like a long time ago. I remember seeing commercials about it a long time ago.
Interesting. We'll check into
Yeah,
that.
It's a cool idea.
All right. Do you want to go through this Touch Note app of the week real quick?
Yeah, sure. We have I wrote a little how-to on it. Basically, you can use your phone to send actual printed postcards to friends anywhere around the world for $1.49. It's a pretty cool price. You just take a photo of whatever you want to take, of whatever you want to send, and then you can add your message to the back of it and the address and everything. I mean, we have a video.
I got it right here.
In a world where e-greetings and Facebook likes are the norm, why not show a friend you really care by sending him a postcard? I'm J. Mark Habibi with CNET.com, and today I'm going to show you how to use your mobile device to send an actual printed postcard to your friends. Hey man.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, I just want to let you know that I really care about you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I'm going to send you a postcard.
Okay. All right.
I really care about you. With Touch Note for Android or iOS, you can take a photo with your phone or tablet, have it printed on a glossy postcard, and mail it anywhere in the world for $1.49. To get started, download and install the free Touch Note app from the Android market or the iTunes App Store. Next, fire it up and pick a photo to use for the front of your postcard. You can take a new photo, pull one off of your Facebook account, or pick one from your gallery. Once you've made your pick, pinch and drag to control the zoom and placement of your photo, or do a two-finger twist to rotate it. Next, flip the card over to enter a destination address and your message. The app doesn't offer any custom style options, but the default is pretty clean and classy. When you're done with your message, it's time to make your payment. TouchNote sells postcard credits for $1.49 each or in packs, and it accepts PayPal or credit card. Just sent. You're gonna love it, man. Good for the fridge.
Cool. I kind of need some personal space here.
I really care about you. And that's pretty much it. Cards usually arrive within 2 to 5 days in the US and UK, or within 3 weeks anywhere else. I'm J. Mark Habibi with CNET.com, and I've just shown you how to be a better friend.
Ariel, I really care about you, by the way.
That's funny. So it sends a physical.
It does, yeah. And I actually
postcard.
sent one to myself. It's glossy. It's well printed, I should say, and it is, as I said, perfect for the fridge.
Yeah.
Cool. So I want a quick update on the projector phone. Samsung actually did in 2009 release a projector phone, which
It was
it's
Samsung,
called the
okay.
Samsung Show, which didn't work out very well apparently. And then there was also a Windows phone based one from LG, which
Interesting.
I never heard. Windows Mobile 6.5, so I'm sure that did great. Yeah.
Two big major hits.
All right.
Terrible.
Let's do some email. First email from Martin. We had talked last week about why Korean manufacturers might be releasing pen-based phones.
Huge, with huge screens.
Right. And so Martin wrote in and said, hey, you wondered if it was a cultural reason why Koreans would want a phone with a stylus. Well, one reason might be their alphabet. It's a lot easier to write with a pen than with the roundabout way it can be done with a QWERTY keyboard. The same would be true for quite a few other Asian languages. And I was sort of speculating because of, the symbol-based languages where there's potentially thousands of characters, that it could be hard to type. And obviously I've never done this because I don't know those languages.
Right.
On a regular keyboard, and then maybe just writing out the characters would be simpler.
Yeah, and I think we're making the assumption that in these countries, in Korea, say, the device would also come with a Korean keyboard pre-installed, right?
Yeah.
But what you're saying is that for languages that have maybe 1,000 characters, that might be difficult.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can just imagine that on a keyboard having to hit multiple option, shift, command, control to get to the,
The 400th page.
Just remember having to do the enye in Spanish always threw me off in high school. So I could imagine trying to, that's just 28 characters.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a good point, Martin. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly easier for a lot of the more complex-looking characters. At least to my eyes, they look more complex.
But what do we know? We're just stupid Americans. All right, we got one more email from Mark who said, I just want to compliment Jamar on how well he's doing with his volume level.
Thank you, Mark.
When I wrote the original email, I had no idea how much of a thing this was going to turn into.
The saga continues. We actually had another email of someone saying the exact opposite of what you said, Mark. He said that I, in fact, was not doing a good job, and I still needed to raise my volume yet again.
But we chose not to believe him.
We did not, yeah. So, Mark, thank you very much. Thank you.
Go, Jamar. All right, and then we have a voicemail from Chris wanting to know about the Galaxy S2 getting an ice cream sandwich.
Hi, my name's Chris. I'm curious if anybody has any information on when the Samsung Galaxy S2 will be getting ice cream sandwich, and what other devices will be getting ice cream sandwich in the months ahead. Any information will be appreciated. Thank you.
I know the answer to this. It's getting it on February 30th. Does that take a while to get that? I have no idea. Do you know?
No.
A funny thing, I was telling these guys before, I went to the Verizon store a while ago, and, the guys there recognized me and said, oh, we watched the show. And then they started quizzing me about when future phones were going to be released on Verizon. And I was just like...
You're like, wait, which one of us works at Verizon
Right.
again?
Yeah, so we don't have inside information. Well, I certainly don't. And if we did, we couldn't tell you. Because we would have signed an NDA.
Right.
Unless you come by with, some special presents.
A hefty briefcase of cash on February 30th.
Uh-huh.
Wink, wink.
We'll see you here. All right. That's all I got for today.
Yeah.
Anything else to say,
Oh,
Emperor?
I think we're good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. If you want to get all sorts of crazy, interesting Android news and rumors of releases for Ice Cream Sandwich, go to our blog at cnet.com/AndroidAtlas. You can watch us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific at cnet.com/live, except for next Wednesday when there'll be a special time, which we'll announce later. You can email us, androidatlas@cnet.com. Follow us on Twitter at AndroidAtlas. Follow GMR.
At JMarkabibi.
Follow me at Not My Real Name, or give us a call, 866-344-CNET, 866-344-2638. See you next week.